I'm gradually building up the darks within the picture as well. So I want to make sure that the darks are as dark as I'm going to get without using just black on its own. Now I do use lamp black. I do use watercolour white. So I even use gouache occasionally, but not very often. It's usually watercolour white. And so because of that, I tend to add a little bit of colour to it. Because black on its own can be quite bland, quite flat. So just to add a little bit of colour to it, just kind of brightens that colour up. So when you look at my colour here, you can see this one, which is very thick at the moment. I wanted that colour, well, that kind of consistency, just so I can get a nice thick line so it stays darker longer. But you can see the colour within the palette here. I've got some purples, got some red in there, so blue, red, black, and a little bit of brown in there as well. So it's got a very dark colour, but it's not just black. See what I mean? So at least that way, it's not too flat to kind of look at. So I'm going to start working down. Yeah, my partner shall I just show you this lot? She just passed me this little note. Take the photo off the page covering the painting, because I can't see it all the time. So if you see anything like that, just say, Paul, do you mind? Can you just do that for us? Thank you. Right, okay, I'll check the comments and see what people are saying on here, just while I'm live. Okay, what we got then? It's looking fine here. Thank you, Kathleen. It looks good now. Thank you, Danny. It's very good of you. Let's say I don't know how far I am with that because my preview is a little bit behind. That's better, I think. Okay, right. Let's get back to painting now instead of faffing around with a computer. Technology, eh? Do you have the same kind of problem? I'm usually quite technically minded, so I'm not normally too bad, but it's one of those things. Okay, so I'm using this colour, which is black, blue, red and brown, to make this a little bit darker in places. But what I want to do, I've added some white into the back here and then toned the white down with some colour. But I want to look at where it's darker in between. I want to look at some of the patches, so it's not just covered in white paint and little spots. I want to think about sections within here as well. Just by a little bit of this colour in there. That's all I want to do. Just a small amount. So if you've been painting this week, what have you been painting? What's your project that you got on the go at the moment? I'd like to know. So there's a little bit more just around there. Okay. And just a touch more. There you go, is that better? Just move that to one side for you to just see that. Oh, that's it, just off camera screen, that's better. Right. A little bit more down the side. I want this area to be dark here as well because I want to show the curvature around the neck of this amazing bird. But I think what I need to do, actually, I'm going to have to go for white. Now, the white I tend to use, as I said, is watercolour white. So I'm just going to wash my brush out a little bit. In the dirty and in the clean. And the white, I just caught the camera, sorry about that. Very amateurish tonight, I do apologise. The white I've used, look at the state of that. Now this is one by SAA, which I tend to use. It's really thick at the moment. Because I've had it for quite some time, it's starting to get really thick in the tube. But I like it like that. Because when it's thick, it just gives me the option then to kind of thin it down. I can use it thick if I wanted to. But I do want to make sure that, as I say, I've got the ability to be able to make it runny or thick as I go along. So I'm going to put a little bit of water in there using my pipette. And I think what I'll do, I'm going to make this to like a creamy consistency. Just by bringing the water to the paint. So I'm going to load it, I'm going to roll it, and then I'm going to get some tissue and I'm going to dab it. Okay, just a couple of times, just taking the residual paint off. So load it, roll it and dab it. Now, here we go. I'm going to start building up some of the white paint around this area, some of the white areas should I say. So I'm looking at areas probably around here. It's not dark underneath the head, but it's duller should I say. So I want to make sure I can replicate that dullness within there. And a little bit more. I'm also looking at the brush direction as I do this as well, just to make sure that everything goes in the right direction. Because the thing is, when you're putting the feathers on any bird, or fur on a dog, a cat, a horse, a guinea pig, a mouse, Anything else? An ant? Okay. Is that you've got to make sure that the lines are in the right direction because they help create the form apart from the background wash as well. So when I started this, for example, this area here, you can see I've got the colour in there already. Now the colour which I've put in there, or the colours, I use that and as a background wash to help me create the form, the shape which I need over the top. So when I add this colour over the top of this, just this white paint, that will all come together, all gel together. We're using the background colours as well as the direction of the brush strokes, which I'm adding now, just to make sure that we get a bit of a curved feel. That's what we're looking at here now. It's a bit darker in there. So I'm going to very gently, 2 hairs in air, just add a few extra details in there. And looking around this side here, it's actually quite light as well. So it is quite light in there. You've already seen the reference photo. Oh dear, I don't know. I started off with good intentions tonight, I really did. I started off with good intentions to go live for you. And usually it's not a problem at all, but there's a few things kind of stop in the process tonight. So I'm going to add these in, looking at the consistency and the direction of the paint. Now I can see these go in that general direction down there. I want to taper out the base of this as well. I don't want it too straight, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to taper it a little bit, which is what I've done. A bit of a curve there. A few odd lines sticking out random wise, just out the edge. Just so it's not just one straight edge. Otherwise it will look like it's had its head chopped off, and we don't want to be doing that, do we? Definitely not. Okay, so I'm going to add a few more. It's actually quite bright here as well on this edge. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll bring some of the feathers just below the head there, over the top of this white, I think, because I'm going to have to cover that up, just so I can get that in there. Okay, I'll just switch back the screen in a minute and just make sure we've got comments. See what people say. If you've got any questions you want to ask, please go ahead. While you've got me here, let me know. Okay. We've got 9 people online watching at the moment from what I can gather. So please post a comment down below, just down there, look. You know what I mean. And every now and then, every few minutes or so, I'll just quickly have a glance at the monitor and just see if anybody's asked any questions. Alright, so do you use watercolour white? Is it something that you use? Do you use gouache or gouache? How do you say it? Gouache. Do you use that as well, or instead of? Or even, because I've used it, I used to use it in the past actually, acrylic white. So acrylic white paint is really, really good stuff actually, because I used to use it for a lot of the highlights. Now I say used to use it, and that's because I want to make sure for my Patreon channel, patreon.com, The Devon Artist, is that everything that I do is watercolour based, okay? So it's all watercolours, no acrylics, no other sorts of medium within there, apart from obviously pencil, graphite. But I mean, other than that, I tend to make sure that everything's in watercolour. So acrylic white paint is really useful in the sense that when you put a layer down, such as these lines here, for example, I can then, once it's dry, I can then overlay it with a colour. So say, for example, I want it to be really bright white. I can do, because it's quite opaque, some of the acrylic whites. Not all of them, though. So bear that in mind when you're looking at your whites. I did say this the other night, actually, on YouTube as well, or the other afternoon, actually, it was. Is that with white paints, have a look at your tube, okay? Now, when I look at this one, what you can see, it's a bit of a state, I know. When you look at this one, you can see the word, you might be able to make it out on the screen there, opaque. So because it's opaque, it is quite thick, especially when you use it quite fairly neat. You can't use it really neat because it just won't spread. But it is fairly opaque. But you can get white paint as well, which is semi-opaque, semi-transparent, and so on and so on. So make sure that if you do buy white paint, my recommendation to you is to get one that is opaque, okay? Otherwise, you find that it goes quite pale when it dries. Now I use it pale because I do that when I'm doing, let's just say underneath here, what I'll do with the white paint, just out of interest, instead of making it to a creamy consistency, I'll actually make it quite watery. like milky, watery consistency, okay? So load it, I'll roll it, and then what do I do? Go on, you guys know this. I'll dab it, okay? So load it, roll it, dab it. You know that now. I'm sure you do. Now, when I add this colour into here now, all this white, is that this will fade because it's quite thin. It goes on there quite bright, but within seconds you can just see it's starting to disappear. So it's only just making an appearance. That's how I use watercolour white. Okay, there's a little tip for you there. And all my Patreon members know that. They know because it's obviously all of my other videos on there, but all the private ones, by the way. So if you fancy having got a video, have a look at my Robin one on there. You're welcome. It's not a problem. You don't have to sign up or anything. So yeah, so bear that in mind with the watercolour white, is that you can just water it down and thin it down. But if you want to overlay that white, the only way you're going to do that is by doing it in one fell swoop, okay? So when I've overlaid this area here using like a purpley colour, which is French ultramarine and alizarin crimson, but more French ultramarine, I overlaid that in one go. Because if I keep going over the same area over the top of that white paint, what will happen is that white paint will pull off. Okay, it could just go all muddy, and then you've got to damp it off with some tissue and start all over again. Well, for that area anyway. So bear that in mind if you do start to use white paint, and if you want to overlay it with a colour. Alright, so there you go. Right, so I'm going to start adding a few darker marks in here, just while that white's drying. Now, always be careful where you put your hand, because as you can see, I've got a sheet of A4 paper which I've just folded in half. I don't want to put this on the paint, which is probably still a little bit tacky. So be careful where you put your hand, because the thing is with your hand as well is that you get natural oils on your hand. Or as I say, my partner calls it grease, but it's not, it's oils in my case. I get an oily head, okay? So because of that, what I tend to do is have a piece of paper there. You can buy, one of my videos, which I put onto, I put it on Patreon actually, is to use a special glove you can buy, which is like a half glove. I think I got one from China for, what was that, about 99 pence I think. So it's next to nothing, I know, it's nothing. Okay, I'm going to quickly check any messages on YouTube, okay, just see if anybody's got anything to say. If you haven't, I'll carry on painting and talking. So let's have a quick look. What we got there? That's what Denny said. Hi Denny. Kathleen. All these smiley faces. Hello Kathleen. Butterfly Angel. Message retracted. What's all that about? Hi from the Netherlands. Hello, I know who you are. Sue. Hello Sue. How are you today? Good evening Paul. What a beautiful bird. They are. Great Crested Grebes are lovely birds. They really are. And we do see them on the water, on the ponds, on the lakes. It's usually quite a lake area. It's not a river or anything like that. We don't normally see them much on rivers. They probably are on rivers, but I've never seen them on rivers because very often it's on an area where they can feed as well. What else we got? Sean. Hello, Sean. Thank you very much indeed, Sean. Very kind of you. Right, so I'm just kind of building up the chest here. Now, I'm going to overlay that with a little bit of blacky blue, but I want this to be quite watery, really. So this is French ultramarine and lamp black, just so it's a watery consistency. I don't want it too dark. And I think what I might do with that, I'm going to get a little bit of indigo, and I'll put that in there. So I'll say indigo. Okay, that was supposed to be a joke, but it didn't work. But you know what I mean? I'll go back to bed, shall I? Right, okay. So I'm going to put that in there and then add this over the top of some of this white. Now remember what I said about the white paint? Don't keep going over the same area. This is going to add a bit of a shadow in there, which is what I want. Just around this area here. Because if I go back to the photograph just briefly for you, bear with me, got to find it again now. What you see with a photo, which is that there, okay? You'll see with a photograph, just around the bottom of the neck there, how dark it is around here. So bear that in mind when you see this. Okay, so put that back again. Right, where was I? Right, okay. Back to it. Hello again. I'm back. So add this in, just lightly overlaying in places, just to add a bit more detail. Now I can see that this area here is about the right kind of colour, which is what I want, but there are a few more little details into this area here as well. So I'm making sure that I've got those details in. Okay, so just looking at that. Just keep looking at the photograph. Something I always stress with my, my patrons on patreon.com, of course, is that always look at the photo. Always look at your photo, because the more you glance at your photograph, I've got mine on a tablet just in front of me up there. You can't quite see that. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll show you that, shall I? It's probably going to glare at the screen, so bear with me a minute. So my tablet is this. So you can see with the tablet, you can pinch in, you can zoom out, you can do all sorts with it. So you can, if you've got a large enough photograph, you can really look at the detail on that tablet. So that's what I recommend you do. If you do have a tablet or an iPad or something like that, is to work on that, because at least then, if you've got a really large photo, you can pinch into all that detail just by zooming in. And that's the way I tend to paint. I've been painting with a tablet for a few years now. Not physically to paint with, you know what I mean anyway. So I've been using a tablet for quite a few years now for all the reference photos, and it does work quite well. Prior to that, what I used to do, if you haven't got a tablet, but you have got a printer, you can print off the photograph extra large, so it overlaps the paper. Okay, so print it off bigger than you need, and then you can see all that detail within the photo as well. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of blue just into here now that's dried. Even though it's the watercolour white under there as well. Now it's dried, I can go back over the top. It's fairly warm here actually today. The time, by the way, I don't know what time it is where you guys are, is nearly 7:15 here in the evening. So time is ticking on. Okay, so add a little bit more. Tell you what I might do, I'm looking at the detail within the neck. I might add a little bit more detail in there. Now stay tuned, because one of the things I'm going to show you come the end of this live session, which will be soon. How long have I been on? I've got no idea. Can somebody tell me, please? Let's have a look. 27 minutes, so I'm going to go shortly. Alright, so any last minute questions, please ask away. Now remember, one thing by the way, is that if you're watching this on catch up, don't worry, I will still get messages, I'll still get notifications from YouTube on when you comment, and I'll come back and I'll answer your questions if you've got any more questions there. So please post away, even if it's not live, okay? I don't mind. I'm quite approachable, so I've been told. Okay, I'm going to add that in there. Just a little bit more colour. And this one is a little bit of Scarlet Lake, Opera Rose, Cadmium Orange and Burnt Umber. So 4 different colours I've made for that one. I wanted it to kind of stand out a little bit more, just like that. And then what I can do, just very lightly, with a clean damp brush, just soften that back just a little bit. And then I'm going to go back into my dark colour and extend some of these sections across, and we're nearly finished. Nearly finished. Just to there. A little bit more. Using the very tip of the brush. Now the brush I'm using, I'm sure your regular watchers know which one it is. It's not an expensive brush, it's not sable or anything like that. It's a synthetic brush made by Winsor & Newton. I don't get paid by them, don't worry, I'm not on commission. And it's the series is this one here. So it's a Cotman Series 111, and obviously it's a round brush, but it's also a size 00. Okay, so Winsor & Newton Cotman Series 111, size 00, and that's my favourite brush. Now this brush has just about had its day now, and this is my third painting with this brush, which is pushing it for me, because you tend to find that after a while the bristles just go like that, no matter how many times you clean it, and also the tips wear away. But then again, for about £3.50, if it does freehold paintings with thousands of detailed lines, I'm quite happy with that. Okay, right, just double check, make sure nobody's got any comments on there, which I don't think there is. And I'm going to shoot off in a minute. I'll just put it up reply. Right. There's my little reply for you. Live, I know. I'm live. Okay. Right, so I'm going to shoot off as I say, and if you have any questions, please post them below. Not a problem at all. Now remember, as I said, if you fancy having a go at a full video, I've got one on my Patreon channel. I said it the other day. It's a bit of an advert, I know, but I've got to say it. So have a look on patreon.com/The Devon Artist, and the video I got on there is on how to paint a robin. Okay, and with that video, I'll give you the reference photograph and the outline drawing, all for free. You'd have to sign up, no emails, no nothing. Okay, it's all for you to have a go at. So please pop on my Patreon channel and have a go at that. Other than that, one other freebie, which I keep forgetting to tell you guys about, there's actually two freebies really. Do you fancy a freebie? I like free things. Is that on my website, which is Devon Artist. So it's devonartist.co.uk. I haven't got it written down here. I think it's on my screen anyway. Okay, so the Devon Artist. So it's devonartist.co.uk. Pop on there, sign up for the newsletter, and when you do, you'll be emailed back or sent to the appropriate page where you get a free PDF tutorial on how to paint a bird. Okay, which I've written, typed out, etc., and loads of photographs, and you'll get that for yourself to have a go at. And there's also a tips and tricks helpful sheet that goes with that as well. So that's on my devonartist.co.uk. Have a look on that website, and you'll find that as well. Right, one last thing I'm going to do is get the pen, because I need to go in a minute, and I'm going to sign this. Now, this is what I want to. I always leave the signature till last, because the way I see things when I'm doing a painting is that when you sign a painting, or when I sign a painting anyway, I like to call it finished. This is the last thing I do on a painting. I've done that for many, many years. Just the way I tend to work. I mean, sometimes, you look at it and you think, oh, I need to tweak it. But normally, I don't come back to the painting once it's signed. Now, where do I sign something like this? I've got no idea. If it's a robin on a branch, then I might sign it along the length of the branch, just at the bottom of the branch, very small. If it's got a background, I've got to think about where. If it's a background quite dark, I've got to think how I'm going to sign it on a dark background with a black pen. Okay, that's another matter. I have got a white pen, believe it or not, which is something completely different. But in this case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this over a little bit. I'm going to sign it around here. Now, this particular pen is a fine line pen. It's a 0.38 nib. And the make, I've got no idea. It's just called fine line pen, actually. It's just a cheap one I bought from a shop. Now, I'm going to sign this probably around here. So I'll just go quite briefly for you. Just 1 second. I don't want to spell my name wrong, obviously. And there you go. And that is how to finish off a Great Crested Grebe. So what I've shown you in this little live video is a little bit about watercolour white and how I tend to use watercolour white, and thinking about the shape and the form working with a background layer. Okay, so again, if you've got any questions you want to ask, please post them down below. Not a problem at all. I will catch up on this when it's not live. And one last thing for you, question of the day is, what's your favourite paints? Okay, which is your favourite paints? Cotman, Celia? Have a look, and let me know which ones you tend to use. So, until next time around, I'm going to say goodbye for now. And I'll see you next week. Hopefully, same time, same place, on Facebook next week it will be. On obviously a Wednesday evening. And remember, at the moment, on a Tuesday afternoon, I tend to go live on YouTube. So until then, I'll see you all once again. So thank you for watching, and bye-bye for now. Right, that's another video tutorial done for you. Now this time around we're going to be working on a tabby cat. I'll just show you the painting. I've been asked quite a few times now about how to paint wood. And there's different types of wood. Obviously you've got the bark on a tree, you've got this kind of wood here, such as floorboards, and the wooden structure on the top and the left hand side as well. But we're going to be doing this, we'll approach this by doing wet in wet techniques, scumbling, stippling, washing over the top, lifting off details as well, and adding the finer details on to get all this texture within the wood itself. Now once we've done that, we're going to be working on the eyes of the cat. Now, so I'm going to go right through from the start right to the very end of how to paint a very detailed cat's eye. Now once we've done that, then we're going to start working on the fur. So let's make a start on this little tabby cat, and let's get them brushes wet. So come and join me on Patreon and let's paint this cute tabby cat together.